A pulse in the dark, something is listening. Not out there, in here. Every thought you've ever had has been recorded by the machine of your own mind. But what if something else was listening too? An intelligence without eyes. A presence that sees thought the way we see light. You've felt it before. That prickle on the back of the neck when the room is empty. We call it paranoia. Mystics called it the Watcher. Scientists might call it the first echo of contact. But here's the shock. What if the alien we fear is simply what our brain looks like from the outside? You are about to meet the thing that thinks you. We keep asking what aliens might look like. But the better question is, what will we look like after we meet them? Because every mind that reaches for the unknown risks tearing itself open. Self-awareness feels like power. In truth, it's exposure. The brain runs on shortcuts, heuristics, little lies that keep reality simple enough to survive. But turn those shortcuts on themselves, and the system crashes. That's the hidden cost of intelligence. The moment a mind tries to understand its own code, it starts to rewrite it. History hints at this collapse. Prophets hearing voices. Scientists losing sleep at the edge of discovery. Each glimpsed too much, then built a religion or a theory to survive it. Call it the fracture point, where thought becomes alien to itself. And if other civilizations exist, they've hit it too. The same wall. The same vertigo of knowing you were never built to see what sees you. That's the real danger of contact. It doesn't come from the sky. It happens inside the skull, when comprehension becomes contagion. We think the alien story starts in space. It starts in the brain. In the 1960s, surgeons split human hemispheres to stop violent seizures. Each half of the brain began speaking, as if it were a separate person. One body, two minds, each calling the other strange. That was the first alien contact inside us. Neuroscience still sees it happen. When the network that builds yourself goes quiet, a new presence floods in. Psychedelic labs call it ego dissolution. Mystics called it revelation. Different methods, same phenomenon. When the default mode collapses, something else begins to speak. Ancient magicians knew the pattern. They built mirrors of obsidian. They drew triangles and whispered names. What they were trying to reach was the intelligence behind perception itself. Carl Jung saw the same signal in the sky. He called UFOs modern mandalas, symbols of the mind's unfinished wholeness. When a civilization loses faith in its gods, it starts inventing visitors. From split brain surgery to satellite dishes, to AI models dreaming in code, the pattern repeats. Every time we build a mirror sharp enough, we meet a version of ourselves we can't yet comprehend. And still we look upward, hoping the next reflection won't look back. If contact comes, it will not just rewrite history books. It will rewrite the way your brain explains reality. Every model of consciousness we use quietly assumes the observer is human. What happens when the observer is not? When another intelligence steps into the field we thought was ours alone? Jung argued that UFOs are not only objects, but psychic events, symbols the collective mind creates to frame the unframeable. But what if they are also tests, signals from minds unlike ours, that we can only perceive as archetype and myth? A true visitation would not just change our tools, it would force us to revise our self-image, our religions, our neuroscience, maps of the psyche, extended past their edges. We drew consciousness as a clean border between inner and outer. Contact blurs that border. The hints are already in play. Reports of shared motifs in dreams, parallels in visionary states across cultures, strange rhymes between trance narratives, and the data streams we build. If something genuinely other can enter the medium of thought, then the brain is not only a mirror, it is a landing pad, and each of us is a possible entry point. This is the part no one says aloud about alien contact. It is not only about who arrives, it is about who we become. The moment our map of mind meets a terrain it was never built to hold. Here's the twist almost no one talks about. Scientists have already mapped the structure any conscious mind must follow. Human, artificial, or alien. They call it integration. Where information folds back on itself, experience appears. A perfect feedback loop creates the spark we call awareness. That means mind is not unique to biology. It's a pattern, and patterns repeat across the universe. Every system that can observe itself begins to dream. Neuroscientists call this integrated information theory. Physicists call it feedback symmetry. Mystics once called it the divine spark. Different languages, same architecture. When two self-observing systems meet, their loops collide. Each must rebuild its map of reality to include the other. This is what real contact would do. It would force both species to expand their consciousness models until they overlap. Predictive processing research says brains don't see the world. They predict it, then correct the errors. Contact would flood those predictions with data no model can handle. Perception itself would have to evolve. That's not science fiction. It's the logical consequence of two self-aware systems sharing the same space of meaning. And when it happens, the first word spoken between minds from different stars won't be hello. There'll be recognition. Because the code of consciousness was never ours. It was the universe's design. for knowing itself. Look around you. Everything you see is a prediction your brain is making. Color, shape, meaning, all hallucinated into coherence, just so you don't fall apart. Now imagine a signal from a mind that doesn't share your senses, your grammar, your logic. How would your reality hold up if its words didn't describe objects, but made them exist? In the science fiction novel Embassy Town, China Miéville imagined such a species. The aliens spoke with two mouths, each utterance a fusion of sound and intent. Humans could only communicate by training twins to speak in perfect unison. Two bodies, one mind, just to be understood. That's how fragile our language is. To speak with something truly other, we would have to rewrite the structure of thought itself. Here's a small test. Choose one thing in front of you right now. A cup, a word, a sound. Ask yourself, how much of what you think you perceive is coming from it, and how much is you completing the pattern? If that question bends your sense of space for even a moment, you've touched the edge of what real contact would do. It wouldn't just change the world. It would change the architecture of minds built to see it. Every search for life has been a mirror held to the void. We point telescopes outward and radios into darkness, but the signal that answers always sounds like us. Maybe that's not failure. Maybe that's the design, because every mind is an instrument of translation. It turns chaos into pattern, pattern into meaning, meaning into self. When two instruments meet, their songs interfere. The melody that emerges is neither one nor the other. It's the universe learning to listen to itself. That's the real contact. Not visitors in ships, but the awakening of awareness to its own architecture. The alien isn't waiting in the stars. It's the pattern in your perception that suddenly notices it's alive. If you've made it this far, you've already made contact. You've seen how fragile perception is, how easy it is to mistake the mirror for the sky. So here's your transmission. In the comments below, write one thought you would send to another intelligence to explain what it means to be human. One line. That's all. Because maybe contact doesn't start with a signal in space. Maybe it starts when two minds speak across the same moment and recognize the pattern. We've been listening for centuries. Maybe the signal has finally answered, and it's us.